Women aren't drawn to what's obvious. They're addicted to what's uncertain. A man who lays all his cards on the table too soon doesn't spark curiosity. He gives her nothing to chase, nothing to figure out, nothing to wonder about. And when there's no mystery, there's no fire. The truth is, mystery is not just a personality trait. It's a biological magnet. Her mind is wired to respond more intensely to the things she doesn't fully understand. Every unanswered question, every subtle gap in your availability, creates a psychological pull she can't resist. Because deep down, uncertainty feels more exciting than predictability. Think about it. When something is clear, obvious, and guaranteed, her brain files it away as safe, but unremarkable. It doesn't stimulate her imagination. It doesn't make her wonder, what if? But when a man keeps parts of himself hidden, when his emotions aren't fully predictable, her mind fills in the blanks. And those blanks are often more powerful than anything he could have said or done outright. This is why the quiet man in the corner can sometimes feel more magnetic than the loudest guy in the room. His silence forces her to create a story about him. She wonders why he isn't trying to impress everyone else. She wonders what secrets he holds. That wondering creates tension, and tension is the foundation of attraction. But here's where most men get it wrong. They assume emotional distance pushes women away. They think if they don't constantly prove themselves, she'll lose interest. In reality, it's often the opposite. When a man holds a little back, when he doesn't immediately reveal every thought, she leans in closer. She studies him more carefully. She invests more attention. Not because he said the perfect line, but because he didn't give her all the answers. Her attraction doesn't come from knowing everything about you. It comes from not knowing enough. Mystery forces her to imagine, and her imagination is far more intoxicating than any confession you could make. That's why clarity often kills desire, while ambiguity keeps it alive. And there's a biological reason for this. Uncertainty activates her reward system. When she doesn't know where she stands with you, her brain releases dopamine, the same chemical that makes gambling addictive and keeps people glued to their phones. Every text that doesn't come right away, every unpredictable response, every moment of emotional distance keeps her guessing. And while she's guessing, she's investing. This is why she's drawn to the mystery. Because mystery doesn't just make you more interesting. It makes her feel more alive. Her emotions intensify, her curiosity sharpens, and her desire grows stronger, all because she doesn't quite know what's next. So the real question isn't if emotional distance creates attraction. It's why does something that seems like it should push her away instead pull her closer? Why does the gap between certainty and uncertainty make her feel more addicted, not less? That's the hidden truth we're about to uncover. If mystery feels powerful, it's because her brain is wired to treat uncertainty like a drug. From an evolutionary perspective, the human mind evolved to respond more intensely to what's unpredictable than to what's guaranteed. That's why games of chance, unpredictable rewards, and sudden surprises create stronger emotional reactions than steady, predictable outcomes. Uncertainty heightens dopamine release. Dopamine isn't just the chemical of pleasure. It's the chemical of anticipation. It fires not when we get what we want, but when we think we might. This is why slot machines are addictive, why social media notifications keep people hooked, and why the unpredictable man often feels more magnetic than the predictable one. When she doesn't know how you'll respond, when your emotions aren't completely transparent, her brain amplifies the sense of reward she feels when you do give her attention. Each smile, each message, each small signal feels more significant because it wasn't guaranteed. That surge of dopamine doesn't just make her curious, it makes her invested. Contrast this with predictability. The man who always answers immediately, who reveals every thought, who makes his intentions overly clear. He removes all uncertainty. And when there's no uncertainty, her dopamine system goes quiet. The interaction might feel safe, but it doesn't feel exciting. Predictable men create comfort, but unpredictable men create desire. Her biology interprets this difference at a subconscious level. Evolution trained women to look for signals of high value in men. And one of the strongest signals of value is scarcity. The man who is less available, less predictable, less emotionally transparent, he's automatically perceived as more valuable. Why? Because her brain mistakes emotional distance for abundance. If you aren't always accessible, it must mean other women are competing for your attention. If you don't instantly reveal your feelings, it must mean your emotions are carefully guarded, only offered to someone who's truly earned them. And if your time isn't endlessly available, it must mean your time is valuable. Her subconscious doesn't separate these ideas. It simply interprets emotional distance as a marker of status. This doesn't mean you should play games or manufacture false scarcity. It means understanding the biological truth. Uncertainty creates intensity, and intensity fuels attraction. The unpredictable man doesn't have to say more. He has to say less. He doesn't have to chase. He lets her curiosity do the chasing for him. But here's the real curiosity gap. If emotional distance creates such powerful attraction, why do so many men get it wrong? Why do some men come off as cold and uninterested, while others come off as magnetic and irresistible? The difference lies in how the distance is framed. Because while uncertainty can trigger desire, the wrong kind of distance can signal rejection. Her biology is primed to confuse the two, which means the real art isn't just being unpredictable, it's being unpredictable in a way that raises your value instead of lowering it. And that's where things get even more interesting. Value isn't only what something is, it's what it seems like other people can't easily get. That's the illusion of scarcity, and it quietly rewires attraction. Think about luxury. A handbag becomes desirable not because it holds things better, but because there are fewer of them. A restaurant feels special not because the food is objectively superior, but because there's a 3-month wait list. Scarcity inflates value. And in dating, emotional distance functions like a velvet rope. The less instantly available you are, the more her mind magnifies your worth. This isn't about rudeness or games. It's about how the brain prioritizes limited resources. Throughout evolution, abundant things could be ignored. Scarce things demanded attention. A man who appears emotionally scarce, selective with his time, measured with his self-disclosure, comfortable with silence, signals that his attention is a premium commodity. If it were cheap, everyone would have it. Here's the twist. The mind doesn't only respond to actual scarcity, it responds to the perception of it. When you don't rush to fill every silence, when you don't answer every message in seconds, when you share enough to connect but hold enough to intrigue, you create a gentle friction. That friction is what her imagination grips onto. The result isn't confusion, it's focus. She leans in. She studies. She invests. Contrast this with over-clarity. The man who front-loads everything, feelings, plans, availability, accidentally floods the market. His attention becomes common. Common things don't spark pursuit. They invite postponement. I can have this later, her brain decides, and desire cools. Scarcity also hints at selection. If your time is spoken for by purpose, discipline, friendships, standards, it implies a life that already has weight. People don't guard emptiness, they guard value. That subtext is powerful. If he's selective with himself and he chooses me, that choice means more. Scarcity frames your yes as a win, but scarcity only works when it's married to signal. A blank wall is scarce and no one wants it. Your distance has to be paired with small proofs of substance, steady eye contact when you speak, presence when you're there, congruence between your words and actions. That combination, limited access plus unmistakable signal, is magnetic. It says, there's more here, but not everyone gets it. A practical lens. Time. You're punctual. You leave on time. You don't rearrange your life for every whim. Attention. When engaged, you're fully present. When not, you're unreachable. No constant drip of validation. Disclosure. You share headlines, not your whole autobiography. The chapters unlock through earned trust. Notice how each creates an outline without filling in every detail. Outlines invite imagination. Imagination amplifies desire. Here's the curiosity gap. If scarcity is so effective, why do some men using distance come off as cold, arrogant, or forgettable? Because scarcity without warmth reads as absence, and absence doesn't attract, it erases. The art is calibrated contrast. Warmth when you're present, restraint when you're not. Clarity about your standards, mystery about your depths. In the next chapter, we'll expose why this balance becomes addictive, how intermittent access and unpredictable rewards turn interest into pursuit and pursuit into fixation. Scarcity draws attention, but unpredictability? That's what creates addiction. If you've ever watched someone pull a slot machine handle, you've seen it. The brain doesn't light up when the machine pays out every time. It lights up when the outcome is uncertain, when maybe, just maybe, the next pull delivers the jackpot. That same neurological mechanism powers why emotional distance feels irresistible. Her brain isn't addicted to you. It's addicted to what you might do next. This is the secret of variable rewards. Predictable men produce predictable responses. If she knows exactly when you'll text, exactly how you'll respond, exactly what you'll say, her brain stops producing dopamine. It's safe. It's stable. But it's not thrilling. The unpredictable man doesn't mean chaotic. It means she can't fully script him in her head. Sometimes his responses are fast, sometimes delayed. Sometimes he opens up, sometimes he holds back. Sometimes he's playful, sometimes composed. These subtle shifts activate her reward system because they keep her guessing. Each small signal of interest feels amplified. Each warm moment feels rare. Each detail she discovers feels like a win. Here's why that matters. Dopamine doesn't spike when she has your attention. It spikes when she anticipates your attention. When she doesn't know if the message will come, if the look will linger, if the silence will break, that's when her body is most alive. Her curiosity sharpens. Her focus locks in. She invests not because she chooses to, but because her nervous system has already placed the bet. Think of it like a dance. Too much distance, and she feels ignored. Too much presence, and she feels bored. But the rhythm of closeness and space, warmth and restraint, signal and silence, that rhythm creates tension. And tension is the substance of attraction. Remove it, and everything collapses into flatness. Sustain it, and you create the conditions of obsession. What's most dangerous and most powerful is how her mind responds to these variable rewards. When you're warm, she feels validated. When you pull back, she questions. When you reappear, she feels rewarded again. This back and forth doesn't confuse her out of interest. It traps her deeper in it. Her imagination begins to overwork. What does he mean? Why did he do that? When will he respond? That overthinking isn't wasted energy. It's emotional investment. And the more she invests, the more the attraction sticks. But here's the darker truth. The same cycle that hooks her can also wear her down. Because addiction doesn't discriminate. The mechanism is powerful, but it's blind. Some men use unpredictability carelessly and leave behind insecurity, doubt, or resentment. Others calibrate it consciously, blending warmth with restraint, creating a connection that excites instead of destabilizes. The question isn't whether emotional distance can make her addicted. It's whether you can control the cycle instead of being controlled by it. Because what starts as fascination can either turn into lasting desire or collapse into frustration. And in the next chapter, we'll uncover why emotional distance doesn't just create desire, but also signals something even deeper: social proof of value. Attraction isn't just about how she feels around you. It's about what your behavior signals about your value. When you don't rush to explain yourself, when you don't flood her with constant reassurance, when you're comfortable with silence, you're sending a message, even if you don't say a word. The message is simple. I have options. I have a life. I don't need to be chosen to feel complete. This is what makes emotional distance so magnetic. It's not that you're trying to ignore her. It's that your presence communicates abundance. And in evolutionary terms, abundance equals survival. The man who is overly available, overly eager, overly predictable, he signals scarcity. He signals that his value is low, because high-value men are rarely so desperate to be noticed. Think about it this way. If every time you text her, she responds instantly and with enthusiasm, it feels good, but it doesn't make you wonder. You never ask yourself if she has better things to do. You never feel the pull of her absence. Now reverse that. When you don't immediately respond, when you don't reveal everything at once, when you create gaps, her mind starts to imagine. Who else might he be talking to? What is he doing right now? Why does he seem so composed while others chase? This isn't about playing games. It's about what your self-possession communicates. Your ability to hold distance signals discipline. It signals choice. It signals that your attention is not cheap. And in her subconscious, that scarcity of attention makes it infinitely more valuable. Psychologists call this social proof of value. In every human group, we look to others for signals of who carries importance. A man who demands attention looks needy. A man who doesn't, but still receives attention, signals true worth. Emotional distance mimics this dynamic. By not overexposing yourself, you create the impression that your time is already in demand, your focus already competed for, your energy already scarce. And that scarcity creates desire. Here's the paradox. The very thing that feels like distance often feels to her like closeness to others. Because if you're not chasing her, who are you giving your energy to? If you're not consumed by her, what else consumes you? These questions push her to lean forward, to invest, to try to claim what seems rare. This is why the mysterious man often outshines the loudest one in the room. His silence isn't emptiness, it's signal. It tells her, I'm not here to prove myself. My life already proves me. And that message doesn't just intrigue her, it elevates her perception of your worth. But this kind of distance comes with responsibility. Used carelessly, it can drift into arrogance, coldness, or dismissal. Used wisely, it becomes an amplifier, showing her that your attention means something because you don't hand it out freely. In the end, social proof isn't about pretending. It's about embodying the reality that your life is already full, that you don't chase because you don't need to. And when she feels that truth, her attraction doesn't just grow, it anchors. And in the next chapter, we'll explore the fine line, the difference between mystery that excites her and distance that pushes her away. Mystery pulls her in, but rejection pushes her out. And the difference between the two is thinner than most men realize. See, emotional distance creates intrigue when it feels intentional and confident. But when it crosses into neglect, when she feels dismissed or unimportant, that spark doesn't intensify. It dies. What makes mystery magnetic isn't the absence of attention, it's the presence of restraint. You're not ignoring her. You're showing her that your life is full, that your time is valuable, and that your emotions aren't tossed around cheaply. The line is crossed when the distance stops feeling like strength and starts feeling like indifference. If you vanish completely, give her no signals, no energy, no warmth. Her brain doesn't interpret it as attraction anymore. It interprets it as rejection. And rejection doesn't spark curiosity. It sparks defense. It tells her, he doesn't care, so why should I? This is where so many men get it wrong. They think playing hard to get means disappearing. But true mystery isn't about withholding everything. It's about revealing just enough to ignite her imagination. It's the difference between closing the book and letting her write the missing chapters in her mind. Think about a movie trailer. The best trailers don't show you nothing. They give you flashes, a line of dialogue, a dramatic look, a cliffhanger moment, just enough to make you say, I need to see more. But if the trailer showed you the entire film, there'd be no reason to buy a ticket. And if it showed you nothing at all, you wouldn't even know the film existed. That's the balance you need. Emotional distance works when it's paired with moments of presence, when your restraint is punctuated by glimpses of warmth, attention, and connection. It's those contrasts that create the addictive loop in her mind. Too much distance, and she checks out. Too much availability, and she takes you for granted. But when you live in the space between, mysterious yet connected, restrained yet warm, you create the most powerful force in attraction, tension. Because tension is what keeps her leaning forward. It's what keeps her asking questions. It's what makes her wonder what's next. Without it, mystery turns cold. With it, mystery turns magnetic. So here's the real secret. Emotional distance isn't about doing less. It's about doing just enough. Enough to spark curiosity, but not enough to satisfy it. Enough to keep her close, but not enough to make her certain. That's the art. That's the line. And when you master it, you don't just attract her, you keep her invested. And in the next chapter, we'll bring everything together. Why the cycle of intrigue, distance, and desire is so addictive, and how to harness it without ever feeling manipulative. Addiction isn't always about substances. Sometimes it's about emotions. And mystery, when used right, creates the same psychological loop that keeps people hooked on games, social media, even gambling. It's the cycle of anticipation, reward, and uncertainty. And once she's caught in it, she doesn't want to leave. Here's how it works. Step 1. Uncertainty. She doesn't know exactly how you feel. You're not broadcasting your every thought or chasing her with constant attention. This leaves a gap in her mind, a space her brain is desperate to fill. That gap creates anticipation. Step 2. Reward. Every so often, you give her a glimpse, a genuine smile, a thoughtful text, a moment of warmth. It doesn't happen predictably, and that's what makes it powerful. When the reward isn't guaranteed, the dopamine spike is bigger. She feels like she's earned it, and that makes it more valuable. Step 3. The loop. Anticipation builds again. She waits, she wonders, she leans in. And when the next unpredictable moment of connection arrives, her brain lights up all over again. The cycle repeats, pulling her deeper into curiosity and desire. This is the same loop that keeps people refreshing their phones, waiting for notifications. It's the same loop that keeps gamblers at the slot machine, pulling the lever again and again, hoping the next spin will hit. The psychology is identical. The reward is random, the timing uncertain, and the anticipation itself becomes addictive. That's why mystery doesn't just spark attraction, it sustains it. Predictability breeds comfort, but uncertainty breeds obsession. And when she feels like there's always something more to learn, more to uncover, more to figure out, her attention doesn't drift, it sharpens. But here's the key difference. You're not manipulating her. You're not playing games. You're simply living in a way that shows depth, self-control, and restraint. You have layers she can't see all at once. You have priorities beyond her. You have a life that makes her curious, because you're not giving her every answer up front. And that's what keeps her coming back. Not because you're withholding, but because you're real. Because you're not trying to force her attention. You're earning it naturally by being someone worth chasing. This is the addiction loop of mystery. Anticipation, reward, uncertainty, repeat. Once she steps into it, the attraction doesn't just stay alive, it grows stronger. And in the next chapter, we'll explore how to maintain this balance long-term without slipping into coldness or neediness. Because mastery of mystery isn't about creating sparks, it's about keeping the fire burning. Here's the paradox. The less you try to make her addicted to you, the more she will be. The more you invest in becoming a man of depth, the more she'll invest in figuring you out. Mystery doesn't mean playing games. It means living in a way that naturally inspires curiosity. It means being unpredictable, not because you're hiding, but because you're too focused on your purpose to be entirely known. And when she feels both the pull of your distance and the warmth of your presence, she'll realize something powerful. She's not just drawn to the mystery. She's drawn to you.